you okay with my setup here?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
that's terrible.
Okay.
I can only bleep out so many curse words, guys. Like,
Yes, I'll do my best to have no profanity.
let's just go for it. Hello from Board Developer. It's Business Ahas, a show about the eureka moment that launched you into the next level of success. I'm here with your host, Jim Hayden, and our fantastic guests this month, Joel Strom. Joel has more than 4 decades of practical business consulting and coaching experience with his exclusive strategic value acceleration process. He moves businesses from ordinary to extraordinary, which I love that tagline, by the way. We're here to learn about his aha moment and how he got to where he is. Take it away, Jim.
Gosh, thanks, Danny. So first of all, I'd like this opportunity to introduce both Danny and Carrie. They are our executive producers for Business Ahas. And obviously, we're excited to have Joel. Joel and I have been friends for years. And this idea about Business Ahas has been really percolating for the last couple of years because Board Developer, we've been in business for about 14 years and we've managed thousands of board meetings, placed thousands of board members. And over the course of the last 14 years, I've probably heard thousands of aha moments. And so I started thinking, I was meeting with some folks and they were talking about the most impact that you have as a leader. And I said, you know, it actually happens in our board meetings where what we call these aha moments. And these people I was chatting with, they said, well, you need to do something about that and talk about those aha moments. But how do you recreate an aha moment? So with that, we came up with the idea but we'd invite people like Joel to join us and talk about his aha moment. But there's a twist. The twist is I have no idea what the aha moment is. So I'm going to be as surprised as everybody else kind of as we go through the process and have Joel explain what his aha moment was and how we then kind of dissect kind of what led to that. So it's going to be real exciting. Really fun to have you, Joel, and it's all yours. You're on the hot spot now. Hot seat.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's exciting to be on this new concept. I think it's a great idea. You know, Danny mentioned 4 decades. When you've done things as long as I've done them, you've got a lot of aha moments during that time. So I really had a hard time thinking which one I was going to talk about today. So I decided to go back to my early entrepreneurial journey, if you will. And actually, I got into that journey through an aha moment when I realized that I couldn't work for big companies and I hated people telling me where to go and where to live and all the other things. So I bought a business. I bought a manufacturing company, a small one. And I had one focus when I bought that business. My focus was to grow that business and to grow it as fast and as big as I could grow it. And I did succeed in growing it, but I also succeeded in having that aha moment that shaped really the rest of my career. And that aha moment was to realize that not all growth is good growth, and that growth has to be managed. So as an example of where that came from, and one of the examples that really made that aha moment stand out to me as I was trying to grow that manufacturing company, we made metal products. We bent and welded sheet metal and wire into products for customers. And you know, we made things like wire merchandisers, you know, those little spinner racks that they used to have in stores. And we made like oven racks. And oven racks we made for commercial oven and commercial food handling companies. So most of our product orders were, I mean, in fact, it was great to have an order of 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces. But I was anxious to grow the business, and it was hard to grow fast at 1,000 or 2,000 pieces. So I brought us to a trade show, and we were found at the trade show by a company that was, this goes back a number of years, remember, that was just starting to come out with convection ovens. And they made a countertop convection oven, and each convection oven had 2 racks in it. And I said, oh, there we go. They're going to sell a lot of these convection ovens and we want to make their racks. So we bid on this job and we won the contract. And we won the contract for large quantities. And I said, yes, I finally have my growth piece. Well, I had my growth piece, but I also inherited a ton of headaches and lessons from that. And I found that top line growth did not equate to any bottom line growth. In fact, our bottom line went down as our top line went up because of all the craziness. I had gone out of our niche. And once I did that, it nearly killed my company. Um, and after losing a ton of sleep and a lot of money, I finally went back to that customer and I said, no, we can't do this anymore for you. And when I did that, somehow my stomach problems went away the next day. I mean, it was just terrible. What a terrible experience of doing that. But what a lesson it taught me in terms of being able to go out. When I sold that business, I started my consulting practice. And to be able to go out and relate that story and convince my clients that taking work or orders or growth for the sake of growth was not the way to create value in their business, to grow their company, to become a real company at a point.
That is absolutely fascinating. It reminds me of the term imploding.
Oh, we were imploding.
It also reminds me of organizations that don't stay in their lane, because you mentioned staying in your lane. I think that it fascinates me because how many organizations grow too fast. So then it reminds me of my third comment, which is quality over quantity.
Exactly. In fact,
wow,
a lot of my early growth or early consulting was with companies that they weren't looking for more work. They had grown themselves almost out of business, just like we had. I had taken this company and started to roll it so fast that we were taking the work out of our lane, like you said. And most of my early clients were trying to figure out how to get back in control of their business and grow and not grow it out of business.
That's also fascinating. I'm going to kind of dumb it down a little bit, but as a business leader and you grow employees within your organization, a lot of times you promote people to the point of incompetence, right? So I'm wondering, this same kind of a parable that you've promoted your business to the point of its own incompetence.
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
And going, when I go back and do my, well, way back post-mortem on this thing, it was a fact of not knowing where my lane was and not knowing what our competency was, because I thought we could do anything. I mean, I was young, I was excited about this, and I didn't think there was anything we couldn't do. So when some of my supervisors in my company said, "Hey, you think this is the right thing for us to take?" Yeah. Oh yeah, let's just go for it. This is gonna make us a lot of money. I mean, I could see that money pouring in, and instead it poured out. So.
I'm also interested, you mentioned after you started your consulting firm, you started using the story to, lack of a better word, convince business owners and entrepreneurs that this may not be the best way for you to effectively grow. What type of success have you had in convincing these whippersnappers, lack of a better word, in to understand that this is sage advice, and if you don't take it, you will fail like I did?
I think a lot of it depends or depended over the years on the mindset of that entrepreneur. If they came to me to listen, then we were pretty successful in working through that. It was tough, like it was for me, to kind of pull back and say, for a lot of these entrepreneurs to pull back and say, you know what, I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to grow a little slower, but it's going to be good growth. It's going to be solid. I'm going to make more money. And sometimes it was just a matter of showing them how they could make more money and what they could do with that. And in what situation you walked into the client with. There was one that I remember sticks out in my mind all the time from this is it was a sign company. They would put up these big signs up on buildings and in restaurant signs and all the other company signs that they would do. And we got into that client. We were called into that client because they were in trouble. They were losing a lot of money. And we looked, the first thing I saw was that they took on, there was a brand new mall that was being developed at that time. And they won the contract to put all the signs in the entire mall. And it was way out of their lane again. But it was done already. They had done it. They had lost their money, and now we were working at how we were going to bring them back into a profitable situation. And the only way we were able to do that, they had gone so far that they had to go through a merger with another sign company to get their footing back.
You
So,
said something
yeah.
that also resonated with me, Joel, as well. And that is, I asked you, at what point do entrepreneurs and owners, and I use the term whippersnappers, actually listen to the sage advice? And you said, when they choose to listen, and they choose to listen to me. And I think it's fascinating that when somebody learns to respect a mentor and knows that the mentor are saying things that are impactful, one of the words that I've used is the word titrate. And titrate is limiting flow. And I'm doing a little thumb swiping down to an IV bag of limiting flow of fluid coming through an IV bag. And if you can titrate growth, like you titrate an IV dropping its liquid, your business will continue to succeed. And if you open it all the way open, it will hurt the body because you need to be titrating the liquid that goes into the body. But in the business case, if you put too much in at one time, it's going to cause a problem at the other end, meaning the business's lack of success. And I think that really it resonated with me very much so as well. And I obviously the aha moment is very impactful for those entrepreneurs, leaders, that you're at a point in your business that you're wanting to effectively grow. So I'm a big believer in negotiating things way ahead of time in your business life. And then when they come along, you have a thing in place that says, okay, this is what happened and this is how I need to do that. So from a growth perspective, would you recommend that a CEO literally sits down and says, I'm only going to take on this much of volume at a time, or I'm only going to take on projects in these lanes, and then having the right checks and balances to say, no, we can't do that because it's outside of our lane, or yes, I'm happy to take that project on, you're in the queue, and we'll start that project at X date. What would you say to those two pieces of advice, Joel?
Well, I think you brought up something that's really, really important. You have to learn to say no when it's not right for you. The thing is, you have to know what's right and what's not right. And that's a little more difficult because when I was in that situation, it was the wrong thing, but I said, we'll make this work. Somehow, this is way too much money.
You'll fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The only thing I don't want who's ever watching this to think is that I'm saying you shouldn't look to expand your business and grow your business and find new innovative ways to grow your business. What I'm saying is it's what you're actually talking about by that example you gave. We can't just open the floodgates. You have to understand what you're doing and where you're going and not get out of your lane. Understand what your competencies are and what you're good at. And if you want to expand the company or grow the company, have a path that you can follow. Work through the path and decide this is where we're going. Now we're going to go find some customers.
What if they don't know the path? Because you don't know what you don't know. What if they don't, I don't know, Joel, how do I define the path?
You know, you don't know what you don't know is true, but you're what I find with a lot of entrepreneurial owners is some of them are just interested in growing within what they do. They make widgets. And so we're going to grow by making a little bit bigger widget, a little bit smaller widget, but we're going to keep going. And they can be really, really successful doing that. Then there's other ones that look at the widget and say, you know, within a few years, this widget isn't going to be, our sales of this widget are going to be way down because technology is changing or something else is changing. So sitting back and not waiting like I did to go to that trade show and find something, but to actually sit there and say, okay, where can we go to make up for that widget loss? Because the last thing I want to do is have my sales come down. I want to keep the growth going, but it's you have to have a path developed. The planning piece that and Jim, you've worked with enough entrepreneurs to know this. Most of them don't like to plan. It's that ooh shiny that happens and says, ooh, we got to do this. And that's what I was doing when I had that manufacturing company. I got into a couple other businesses that had nothing to do with what our core business was. And it took my attention away. It took all kinds of, it just blurred the whole picture. And
Ooh,
I had
shiny.
to go back. Ooh, shiny, yes. And which rabbit can I chase? You know, so I was like most entrepreneurs, and my wife says I'm still like that. There's not an idea I don't like. So
Right.
as an
When you
entrepreneur,
mentioned,
you start going all over.
right, and you mentioned rabbits, and somebody mentioned this to me, and I like repeating that the man who chases two rabbits catches none.
That's true. That's true. Understand. Well, you said it way at the beginning of this discussion. Know your lane. If you know your lane and you keep going in it and you know your capacity and you know what you can get done, we could have taken on that job if we'd have said, all right, we're going to go after a company like that that needs lots of oven racks, and we're going to do it a year from now. How are we going to get there? Then we would have had the right machinery. I would have had the right people in place instead of trying to catch up from the day that we got the order.
Fantastic. You get an A+ for the aha, Joel. Loved it. Thank you very much.
It's been a lifelong one. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate being on this. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you gonna say one more thing?
Oh yeah.
So if you like that subtitle, my book is CEO to CBO, moving your business from ordinary to extraordinary. So,
Oh, that's cool. So it's already in print then, your book.
on Amazon. Maybe the other aha moment, Jim, someday is you realize as you get older that when you were younger, you didn't know crap.
Well, that's why I mentioned the word sage.
Exactly. I remember sitting with a friend of mine and I, when we graduated college, we went over to his house. We were both fresh engineers out of school. And we sit down, and his father, who didn't mince too many words, he looked at us and he goes, you guys don't know crap. That company, those companies that you're working for are losing money. Every penny they pay you, they lose money because you're learning from them. And we looked at him and said, come on, we just got a degree, a 4-year degree in engineering. We know all kinds of stuff.
Of course we do.
We didn't know anything. And,
Great
Wow.
story.
well, thank you.
That's
Fun.
awesome.
You know what I like about this? It's that I think this is cool because we get to talk instead of.
And you get encouragement. You know, you're like, you're telling somebody not to grow?
Yes. I want to ask one more question.
Sure.
I saw in another video, you have a statue of a wizard in the background. Can you talk about the wizard?
There he is. Can you see him up on the shelf up there? The wizard my original
Oh, yeah.
practice was in Cleveland, and it was the wizard sat in the middle of our conference table, and clients would come in and ask what that was, and we said he was the guru of growth. And the guru of growth has you can't see it from here, but he has a little crystal thing that he holds. And when clients would say, so what do you think I should do with that? Or do you think we're going to be growing? Or is the economy going to keep going? We'd say, well, if we had the crystal ball of the guru of growth, we could probably tell you that. It was a great conversation piece when clients came in. He's been following me around.
So Joel, I was just wondering, from your perspective for entrepreneurs, how often do you recommend revisiting the plan for your lane? Is that something you revisit annually, quarterly, monthly?
Look, in fact, I was on a call with a client this morning. We're setting up a new process for them. We're putting together a plan that goes out about 3 years, but it's very detailed the first year, but even more detailed the first quarter. So every quarter, we're going to review where we are. We're going to look at what the next quarter holds. But the annual plan, I mean, I remember years ago, we used to do 10-year plans or 5-year plans, and we don't have to touch it anymore because nothing changed. We're continually tweaking and looking and making sure we're on track. And does this still make sense? Like, did something unique happen, like a pandemic or something, and we have to adjust? But yes, it's a continuous looking at it. And then every year saying, okay, now let's look at where we said we were going to go in year 2. Is year 2 still, does that still make sense? And now let's do the detail and then move it out one more year.
Sure. And how much time would you say a CEO should be spending on planning?
I think the CEO should be thinking about their plan on like daily. I mean, how could you not be thinking about what's happening? Is that they get involved in many of the small decision making all the time, as opposed to, look, I'm going to make a decision that says we're going to not take big jobs like I did there, or big high volume jobs. We're going to do the other. Here's what you have to go after. Now let your people who you're paying good money to go out and do what has to be done. So now I can go back and make sure that decision was the right decision, or plan on the bigger decisions.
That's fascinating. And I think we have all too often I don't know if the term is CEO-itis, where they have the inability to effectively delegate. The term that I use, Joel, and I love using it, is what is the highest and best use of your time?
Yes, exactly.
I don't need to be called for a $7 decision.
Exactly.
So
that's the point.
That's an important point. Thank you for sharing. And Joel, you made a comment a few minutes ago about still recording, and the answer is yes, we are recording everything. But we really appreciate your time. Anything in closing?
Joel, I just want to say I really enjoyed listening to your stories.
Thank you.
I'm so enjoying
a lot of
this
stories
right
in 40 years,
Huh. Yeah, and your book, that sounds amazing.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
everybody,
it.
thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining Business Ahas, brought to you by Board Developer. If you enjoyed Joel's story and could relate to his business aha moment, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share all the things we love to do. We'd really appreciate it.